Welcome. My name is Matt Proctor, president of Ozark Christian College, and over the next several minutes, I'd like to share with you an update on OCC, a State of the College address. Once upon a time, before I attended Ozark, I was a student at the University of Iowa. I was a journalism major, and maybe that's why I have always been fascinated with headlines. In fact, I keep a list of funny newspaper headlines that I've seen through the years, and just for fun, can I share a few of these with you? These are actual newspaper headlines. Here's the first one. Grandmother of 8 makes hole in one. Oh no, I know it's talking about golf, but it sounds like she's drilling a hole in a kid. No, Grandma, no. That's not a good headline. Here's another one, and I think they meant illiteracy, but the headline actually read, Nicaragua sets goal to wipe out literacy. Oh no. Hey, kid, stop reading that book. Here, have an Xbox. That's not a good headline. Here's another one. Something went wrong in jet crash, experts say. Well, thank you, experts. You must work for the government, right? Department of the Obvious. That is not a good headline. How about this next one? Two sisters reunite after 18 years in checkout line. Now, that's just funny because I have been in that checkout line 18 years. My word. Here's the last one. Blind woman gets new kidney from dad she hasn't seen in years. Oh, why did you word it like that? Yeah, that's true, but you didn't have to say it. That's not a good headline. Now, this past year has been full of not good headlines. Can I get an amen on that? A pandemic and racial injustice and political conflict. And just this past week, frigid cold winter weather. And I've been asked the question a lot this past year, how's the college doing? And the answer is, like everyone, this past year we've had challenges and we've had blessings. And so in the State of the College address, let me start with the bad news and then I'll move to the good news. Over the last year, here have been some of our not-so-good headlines. Here's the first one. A student sent home in March to finish online. Like the rest of the world, last March, when the pandemic hit, we had to send our students home for what we thought was a 2-week spring break. It turned out to be the rest of the semester. Now, there used to be an old car commercial for Mazda that went zoom, zoom, zoom. Some of you will remember that. That was our theme for the rest of the semester as we finished online. Zoom, zoom, zoom. We zoomed our classes, we zoomed our life groups, we zoomed our meetings. And listen, we were grateful for the online technology, but it is not the same as in person. Another not so good headline from that season, $400,000 of unbudgeted refunds given. Now, of course, we wanted to give our students refunds for room and board after we had to send them home. But still, that was $400,000 we gave back that we weren't originally planning on. And so it looked like we were going to finish the year in the red. That's never a good thing. Another not so good headline, recruiting opportunities lost, smaller class enrolls. When COVID shut the world down last spring and summer, we lost a lot of our key recruiting opportunities. Our campus tours, our weekly Tuesday tours, came to a screeching halt. We couldn't go to summer church camps or to CIY conferences. And for a Bible college, those are key recruiting moments just gone. And then with all of the COVID uncertainty, a lot of prospective students, incoming freshmen, were choosing to just wait, take a gap year, go to college later. And so that summer, all the journals of higher education were saying that colleges should expect an enrollment drop of between 5 and 20%. And sure enough, last fall, we had a smaller freshman class and our enrollment dropped 6%. We were glad it wasn't the 20%, but still, it was not a good headline. Here's another one. Despite great attitudes, Ozark experience affected. Now hear me, I am grateful we are back on campus this year. We have been having in-person classes all year, and I gotta brag for just a moment. Our students this year, absolute champs. They have had to wear masks and social distance and manage isolation and quarantine when somebody gets sick, and they have had great attitudes. I've read about other colleges where students will protest this or that, or they'll refuse to do this or that, and I just think to myself, man, when it comes to students, we won the lottery. God gave us a great group of students this year. Philippians 2:3 says, consider others better than yourselves, and our students do that. James 1:2 says, count it all joy, and our students do that. Philippians 2:14 says, do everything without grumbling or complaining, and our students almost do that. Not everything without complaining, they're not perfect, but man, they've had great attitudes, and I think Jesus is proud of them, and I am proud of them. But the fact is, the Ozark experience has still been affected. I mean, chapel's still great, but we can only have it like a third full, and we're singing with masks and class and life group and eating in the cafeteria, all different. So many campus events canceled. One of the hallmarks of the Ozark experience is community. It's the relationships we build here. And this year, it feels like we're trying to build that community with one hand tied behind our back. And of course, the hardest thing this year has been those in the Ozark family who've experienced loss. And in fact, that's our last not so good headline. Ozark family faces COVID loss. And some of that COVID loss was financial. Because of that enrollment drop, we had to make some budget cuts, including a few personnel cuts. And those are hard. We grieve those. But some of that COVID loss was physical. We had a student who lost a grandfather to COVID. And just a little over a week ago, we had a student who lost his father to COVID. His dad was a young preacher, just 43 years old, and our hearts break. And can I just be transparent with you here for a moment? When I'm asked that question, how's Ozark doing? The answer is, we really are doing okay. I mean, students are learning and growing and God is at work. But the answer also is, it's been hard and it's been long. At Thanksgiving break last November, when we sent students home, somebody said to me, well, today marks 5 years since we began 2020. And man, I felt that. This year has been so long and so much extra work for everybody and so many more decisions to think through and then many more decisions to make. And we've got mask fatigue and Zoom fatigue and decision fatigue and fatigue fatigue. We're tired of being tired. I saw this cardboard box, this big cardboard box that said across the top, "Do not break down." And when I saw that, I thought, I'm trying, box. I'm really trying. And I promise I won't break down on you right here. But for a moment, can I just lament some of our losses? I miss our normal Ozark life. I miss seeing the chapel packed out, and I miss seeing students singing and just worshiping wall to wall. I miss getting to eat in the cafeteria with big tables full of students. And I miss eating our Friday faculty staff lunches where our employees get together every week for a meal, just talking and laughing and praying together. And I miss seeing students' smiles behind their masks when I'm walking across campus. And I miss having big groups of students over to my house. And to be honest, right now, I miss preaching and teaching convention. I miss seeing you all in person here on campus and hugs and handshakes. And I miss seeing alumni come back and reliving memories here where God shaped you and called you and introduced you to your spouse. And I miss seeing so many of you who aren't alumni, but you come here every year to get your spiritual tank refilled. And I miss just seeing your face brighten as the fresh wind of the Spirit blows into your sails. And listen, next February, Lord willing, I hope to get to see your faces and I hope to hear your voices, 1,000+ voices singing on Wednesday night of our convention, our 2 traditional closing songs, "When I Survey the Wondrous Cross," and "Wherever He Leads, I'll Go." And at that moment, my heart will rejoice. But this February, my heart's a little sad. And not all the headlines from this year have been good. But by God's grace, there have been good news headlines this year as well. And so in this State of the College address, let me share some of those good news headlines with you. Here's the first one. Ozark earns HLC regional accreditation. Now, last March, the weekend right before we had to shut campus down, we had a visit from a regional accreditation team from the Higher Learning Commission, HLC. Now, we've been nationally accredited for decades, but more recently, we've been in the process of adding regional accreditation to our Bible College accreditation, and that's an 8-year process. We started in 2012, so last March, 2020, was our big final visit at the end of those 8 years. And the good news is, we passed with flying colors. In fact, the chairman of our visit team said, "I have been doing these visits for 11 years, and Ozark is the first college in 11 years to receive a spotless review." So that's really good news. Here's another good news headline. OCC finishes 9th straight year debt-free. Now, how did we do that? I told you we had to give $400,000 back in refunds, but here's a cool story. God made up that loss with 2 unexpected donors. The first unexpected donor, a businessman in Kentucky. He had never heard of Ozark Christian College, but he was friends with a preacher named Dave Stone. And when the pandemic hit last March, this businessman called Dave and he said, Dave, I'm sure there are good ministries out there that probably need funds right now. I'd like to give, but I don't know where. Can you recommend one? And Dave said, sure, Ozark Christian College. And so this gentleman that I've still never met, never been to our campus, sent a check for $150,000. That was the first unexpected donor. The second unexpected donor was the U.S. government. When the CARES Act was passed last spring, we received $250,000 in institutional aid. Yay, God. It took a divine act, but our tax dollars put to good work right there. And we are grateful. And so you're doing the math, right? $150,000 check from Kentucky, $250,000 check from Washington, D.C., equals $400,000. God covered our loss in 2 moves. Jehovah Jireh, the Lord provides. And by His grace, we'll end this school year with our 10th straight year debt-free. It has been a hard year, but God has been faithful. Here's another good news headline. Our Next Level videos, now those are our free Bible teaching online videos, those have now received over 300,000 views in 33 different countries. Now, of course, usually every year our faculty is out and about. They're traveling all year teaching and preaching. And of course, the pandemic shut all that down this past year. But I'm reminded of 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 9, where Paul is in prison and he says, I'm suffering to the point of being chained, but God's word is not chained. And even though our faculty were mostly stuck here in Joplin, through our Next Level videos, the Bible teaching ministry of Ozark has gone farther during this pandemic year than it has ever gone before. God's word is not chained. Can I share another good news headline? Ozark team exemplifies, blessed are the flexible. Now, that's one of the Beatitudes that we live by around here. Blessed are the flexible, for they shall never be bent out of shape. And we have never had a year that demanded more flexibility than this one. And our team has knocked it out of the park. There's too many people for me to mention names, but I'm just telling you, they all have given second and third and fourth mile service. I heard a preacher one time say that when you walk onto a construction site, you can tell how big the job is by the equipment assembled. A big job takes heavy equipment. And the same is true in ministry. You can tell the size of the work God is doing by the people that He brings around you to do it. So don't take this the wrong way, but our Ozark team, they are heavy equipment. God has gathered some of the most talented, smartest, godliest, most servant-hearted people I know right here at Ozark because we have a big job to do. We are training the next generation of kingdom leaders, preachers and teachers and church planters and missionaries. And in fact, that's the last good news headline I'll share. Ozark sends 145 grads into the field. You see, at our graduation last year, our delayed but in-person graduation this past September, we sent out another 145 graduates. That's 145 workers into the harvest field. And I'm confident there will be thousands of lives reached for Christ with just that one graduating class. That is good news. Now, before I wrap this up, can I give you 2 sneak peeks? Sometimes on the evening news, they will tease upcoming headlines tonight at 9. So let me do that real quick here. Here are 2 things that you'll hear about in the weeks ahead. First, upcoming headline, dining hall roof to be replaced this summer. Now, that was not on our original summer to-do list, but over the last several weeks, we've developed several leaks in the dining hall roof. And when the pros came to look it over, they said, yeah, you're going to need to replace the whole roof, and you're going to need to do that soon. And so that's $100,000 that was not in our budget this year. And so that will be our next immediate fundraising project. In the next few weeks, you'll see a letter or an email about this $100,000 project to put a new roof on the cafeteria. But here's the second upcoming headline. Later this year, we will publicly launch a new capital campaign called Ready to Go. Now, the goal of this campaign will be $5.2 million. And we're going to be raising money for 3 things, for student scholarships, for a new graduate program that we'll launch next year, Lord willing, and money for dorm renovations. And again, you'll hear more about that later this year, but can I just share a little good news right now? We're at this point in the advance phase of the campaign, which means we're quietly meeting right now with a few major donors and churches for those first leadership gifts. And we already have, in this early phase, $3 million in commitments. And what's fun is seeing all the different kinds of givers that God is gathering. On one end, you've got Southeast Christian Church in Louisville, Kentucky. They committed $1 million to this campaign. Wow, super encouraging. And then somewhere on the other end, I had one man call me. I didn't even call him. He somehow heard we were going to start a campaign, and so he called me. And he said, sign me up for $54,000. Now, this guy, he's not a millionaire businessman. This man is a minister. He's a retired minister, but he wanted in. And so he had done the math. This is going to be a 3-year campaign. And so he said, I'll give $1,500 a month for 3 years. That's $54,000. And then, I love this, again, he had done the math. He said, now if it's a $5.2 million campaign, then you just need 96 more people like me to commit $54,000. And I loved that. He was excited. He wanted to get other people on board because he knows the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. And what we're doing here at Ozark matters. And so you'll hear more about this campaign in the months ahead. But as I wrap up this Ozark update, let me do it by just asking this question. Why? Why does all of this matter? Well, here's why. Over the last few weeks, we have lost some mighty men of God. In late December, Don Vernon went to go be with the Lord. Now, Don graduated from Ozark in 1957, preacher, church planter, but best known as a musician, sang with his brothers. The Vernon Brothers TV ministry was known far and wide across the country. They traveled everywhere sharing the gospel in song, and Don touched hundreds of thousands of lives for Christ. Then in January, Sam Stone went to go be with the Lord. Now, Sam was one of my heroes. Fun story. Sam Stone was married to Lynn Gardner's sister, Gwen. And in fact, when Sam and Gwen got engaged, when they were students here at Ozark one weekend, the very next week, Ozark President Don Earl Boatman got up in chapel and he said, let us all pray for Gwen Gardner. I have heard that over the weekend, her heart has turned to stone. And Sam and Gwen did get married, and Sam graduated in 1958, and then he went on to be a preacher and then academic dean at Cincinnati Bible Seminary. And then for 25 years, Sam was the editor of the Christian Standard. He helped bring unity between the Christian churches and the a cappella churches of Christ, and he touched hundreds of thousands of lives for Jesus. And then in February, just 2 Saturdays ago, I attended the funeral for my friend Etienne Prophet. Etienne came to Ozark from Haiti, and when he graduated in 1974, he went back to Haiti. He established Haitian Christian Mission, and in the years since, he helped plant 57 churches with thousands of worshipers every week, started 12 Christian schools that teach and feed thousands of children every day, and built a hospital and a translation center and a peanut butter factory to create jobs there in Haiti. And Etienne, he was one of the smartest guys that I have ever known. He spoke 4 languages. He was a natural-born leader. He was an outstanding communicator. Etienne could have been anything he wanted, a successful businessman, entrepreneur, famous academic. When I visited Etienne in Haiti, he told me that years before, a group of men, national leaders, had approached him one time and urged him to run for president of Haiti. And I wasn't surprised by that at all. That was the caliber of man he was. But Etienne said no to those men, because he knew that what people needed more than good food or good education or good government was the good news of Jesus Christ. And so, not to be served, but to serve, Etienne took his gifts and he just served people in places far away from the spotlight, far away from the media and the cameras. He worked in places where no one saw and no one knew, Bible in one hand, basin and towel in the other, and just shared the love of Jesus. And Etienne never lived in Haiti's presidential residence. They call it the National Palace. He was just a simple preacher. But in God's economy, preachers are more important than presidents. And God used Etienne to touch thousands and thousands of lives for Christ. And when I got the news on February 5th that he had passed away, I wept. And I thanked God for this man. And I know that the newspapers and the news programs of this world, they like to throw their spotlight on the people that they think are important. Politicians and musicians, generals and athletes, business leaders, movie stars. So when a simple preacher like Etienne Prophet passed away, it didn't grab headlines, it didn't garner national attention, it didn't make the evening news. But if heaven has newspapers, then I think the February 5th edition carried Etienne's picture on the very front page, and the heavenly headlines read, "Kingdom Hero Comes Home." And if heaven has history books, the names of presidents and businessmen and generals, those are only footnotes. But in heaven's history books, names like Etienne Prophet and Sam Stone and Don Vernon, those who have preached and lived the gospel, those names are printed in bold. Why does what we do here at Ozark matter? Here's why. Because this generation has fought the good fight and finished the race and kept the faith, and now we need to train the next generation. That's what we're doing. We are training the next wave of kingdom heroes, men and women who, just like those who have gone before them, will share the message of Christ with a lost world, and by God's grace will also reap a great harvest. And I can see someday heaven's headlines even now. Small Bible College makes big global impact. And I want to thank you for making that happen. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for your financial support. Thank you for partnering with Ozark Christian College as we train men and women for Christian service. God bless you, and thanks for tuning in.